from Abuja.
Hello, thank you for being a part of our show. We appreciate you. I'm Magnus Kpakol, and this is Magnus Kpakol GVA, Global Views Africa. As you know, it's all about how we can raise the level of living. That's what it's all about. In view today, Governor Timipre Silva, former governor of Bayelsa State, on governance and economic competitiveness in Africa. But before that, in our hidden economics, the law of sand and poverty. Now up next, we bring you some business and development indicators in our quick view. That's coming right up. Studies suggest that a 10% increase in per capita GDP is associated with a 21.5% increase in internet users per capita. However, of the about 7.2 billion on the planet, a whopping 4.2 billion people, nearly 60%, are not online. In developing countries, only 31% of the people are online. And in the world's 49 least developed countries, it is less than 10%. According to the International Telecommunications Union's 2013 report. Therefore, basic mobile phones can help circumvent this lack of broadband access and be used for e-learning, for example. As Nelson Mandela had said, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. Products like Shafri, Study Hall Africa, are now available to educate and network African school kids using a cell phone. In this connection, which of the following countries is not among the top 4 in cell phone penetration in Africa? That is, cell phones per 100 people. Libya, Botswana, Gabon, and Kenya. Which of the following countries is not among the top 4 countries globally in cell phone penetration? Qatar, Hong Kong, UAE, and China. Stay with us for our answers coming up shortly. Still in view, Governor Timipre Silva on governance and economic competitiveness in Nigeria. But up next in our hidden economics, the law of sand and poverty. Ever notice how in villages across the developing world, there is sand everywhere? Of course, sand is a natural part of the earth and a fundamental resource. But its overabundance around dwelling places can be a sign of poverty. As we know, the poverty of many rural areas of developing countries causes man and beast to coexist. And beasts typically can't live without sand and dirt. But sand in its raw and abundant form does not have much economic value. And that's why it is in so much abundance, or even oversupply. In a simple way of saying it, development is principally about processing and refining things. That is, transforming from a raw form and condition of modest usefulness in contribution to that of enhanced economic value. Potential is a word often associated with underdevelopment, while potency is a key word associated with development. Sand has potential, not potency. Its value is contained in its refinement from being processed. If raw sand had value, poor villagers would not be poor. They would have a great economic resource or endowment. It is hardly possible to find a grain of sand in very well developed places and communities around the world. However, in very poor communities, sand appears to be everywhere, even in their beds. Indeed, it appears there is a law of sand and poverty. The more you see sand in a community, the poorer the community is. It seems that if you cannot subdue sand, sand will subdue you. A lesson to learn here. If you are already poor, do not allow desertification to catch up with you. It brings more poverty with it. Any community that desertification catches will be made poor. Its sand is overwhelming. Sand being everywhere is proof that poverty is abounding. Poverty is always and everywhere the result of the inability of man to acquire the empowerment needed to control the challenges of his environment. People everywhere should strive to acquire the tools to reduce their poverty. Every community should know its sand and poverty index number. When you see it going down, you know your poverty is declining. And if it is rising, your poverty is increasing. Our hidden economics for you. Before we start our discussion in view, here are our quick view answers. China is the country among those listed here not in the top 10 in the world in cell phone penetration, ranking a distant 141 in the world. Kenya is the country listed here not among the top 10 in Africa, ranked at number 20 in cell phone penetration in the continent. For information on our show, see our contacts displayed on the screen. In view today, Governor Timi Silva talks on governance and economic competitiveness. Chief Silva's political career is well on the ascendancy among his people and the top hierarchy of the APC. Apparently enjoying the confidence of President-elect Muhammadu Buhari, he has been appointed as a co-chair of the Presidential Inauguration Planning Committee for May 29, 2015. As a key Niger Delta politician and national figure in the All Progressives Congress, Chief Silva appears to be championing a deliberate effort for the Niger Delta to revive political ties with other blocs around the country for the sake of national unity. Please join me in my discussion with Governor Timi Silva. Your Excellency, we want to thank you so very much, for being in our Magoni studios. Very happy to have you here. But it won't take too much time. We want to get straight to our discussion. Well, now the APC has come in, basically, and we're talking change. What is change? To a lot of us, we just hear change. And yes.
It's a very interesting slogan.
Yes, in fact, some people think they want to reach in their pockets and bring change. So what is change?
Well, I think
we really want to get it.
Yeah, the APC has defined change. In our campaigns, we've always said it. We've looked at some basic areas that things must change in. We look at the area of corruption. Things must change in the way we do things in this country. So that area will be tackled very, very quickly and urgently. Needs to be tackled, and I think Nigerians agree on it completely. The second area that we also need to tackle is jobs and wealth creation. There is a poverty problem in Nigeria, and Nigerians are agreed on it. So we need to create the jobs, and that will also be tackled. Creating developing the agricultural sector to create more jobs and so on. That's what's going to be a part of the change that we will create. Then we have the security issue, which actually covers everything. Our security situation today is very bad. We need to tackle the security, and we know that we need to to completely eradicate Boko Haram. We need to make sure that the Niger Delta situation is tackled permanently, because so far what has been happening, people just throwing money at the problem, not really going down to the roots of it and solving it. And that is what the APC government will bring.
So basically it's changing from policies and implementation strategies that did not work to those that work.
Exactly.
For me to tell my viewers, that's what change means.
That's what I said. I said we must change the way we do things.
Yes. So let's take the night. Let's do. I'm going to talk about some other national issues, but let's take the Niger Delta, for example, where you are very knowledgeable. All these guys that are in the amnesty program, or those at the periphery of the amnesty program will not continue forever, no matter who is president. How will we absorb them into the mainstream economy? How would they be engaged? The guys that are engaging in pipeline vandalization, some kidnapping, what kinds of strategies do you see, that we can bring about to be able to engage these people going forward?
That's why I say, look, there are three segments of militants. You have the first segment, which comprises of the leaders of the militants. You have the commanders in the middle, and then you have the rank and file at the tail end. Now, the rank and file is the majority. They are mostly uneducated. You need to give them the skills. And you have to give them skills that will make them able to employ themselves majorly. If you give somebody a skill to do POP, for example, you don't need to go and give him employment. He can find the jobs everywhere, as long as there are buildings going on everywhere. Now, the commanders, they are educated to some extent. You can give them scholarship to go and study and get the degrees. And then the generals, they are used to big money. So you must make them be able to do business in the oil companies. Not necessarily surveillance businesses, but they should be able to get involved in the contracting.
Because that's where they want to be.
They want to be involved in the contracting processes and so on. Go through the processes and get into the business. And that way you would absorb everybody. But now you train people and you have no plan for them. I mean, because you train this guy as a welder, he comes back and you have no arrangement for starter packs. You have no arrangements to really start him off on his trade. What do you expect him to do? He just goes back home and sits with the training that he has already received. So these are the problems that have not been envisaged as it is in the amnesty program. But of course, I'm not just confining myself to the Niger Delta. I believe that this problem, this is a national problem. Now we have the Boko Haram. Where I was coming to was that the amnesty program gave us an opportunity to create this infrastructure that would have served other purposes as well, not necessarily the Niger Delta problem. That will not be the beginning and end of problems in Nigeria. We are not praying for problems, but we must be ready for problems. Now, the Boko Haram problem is a similar problem as well. You have youths majorly involved in the Boko Haram situation. Now, if you had created this infrastructure, you would have been able to move these people at the end of the day to the same institutions for them to also acquire the same skills.
I get that. That's a very important point, especially given that we're sending them out.
Exactly.
We don't use the resources to build our own facilities here for taking care of them.
So are we going to continue to send everybody out and just take the value out of Nigeria? That is what we've been doing.
Very good point.
It's unfortunate.
It's a very good point. Now, you are obviously a top person in the party because you are co-chair of the inaugural planning committee. That to me is an extraordinary responsibility given to you, and that shows to me and everybody the amount of confidence that the president-elect has in you. In that position, what are the main things that you guys are doing? What is the meat of the thing?
Well, what we're doing is just to plan the inauguration. It's a very simple job to plan the inaugural event. It's one event, and after
because you're going to get presidents.
Coming
from everywhere.
Course, exactly.
So it's not a small thing; it's a big thing.
Well, I agree with you to some extent, but of course, so we are making it quite low key. in keeping with the national mood right now, and in keeping with our party policy. I mean, we don't want any flamboyant inauguration. So we've cut out a lot of frills. We're starting off with an inaugural dinner the day before, I mean, where the vice president will be conferred with the national honor of GCON.
Yes, absolutely.
Of course, the president-elect already has GCFR, so he doesn't need to be conferred with that honor on that day. And then the next day, it's a simple ceremony, just a swearing-in ceremony. A little bit of parade, of course, and military marching and so on. And then, of course, the swearing-in ceremony. After that, we have a gala night, and you are invited.
Write that down, producer. So now let's go forward now. From the inauguration, May 29 noon, the government is in place.
Exactly.
I know that you're close to the president-elect, but what do you think are some of the first things that he might be looking at? Is that something that you guys want to bring out now too, that Nigerians begin to anticipate these big things that will happen? The second,
the first thing he's going to look at is properly governing this country.
Yes.
That's all. He's going to look at, because what we've had, really, I mean, up till this time, is really not good governance. I mean, we believe so, and most Nigerians know that what we have lacked for a long time is good governance. So what our president-elect is going to bring immediately after being sworn in is good governance. Nigerians should expect good governance from him.
What I also have noticed is I've seen on TV dignitaries, local and foreign, going to see the president-elect. And you could feel the palpable respect that is given to him. You see that people expect a lot of him and they respect him. And I think that people are saying that across Africa, Nigeria needs to take its leadership role. How is he going to concretize that?
No, it's really nice that you noticed. One thing I've also noticed with the president-elect is that he commands respect. He doesn't really demand the respect from you, but he just simply commands respect because he leads from the front. And I think that's what Africa needs. Africa needs a leader like him with the experience. And of course, we as Nigeria, we need that kind of leader to take our rightful position in Africa. A leader that has the experience and the standing in Africa to really take that center stage. And I think that's what we need, and that's what God has given us.
It appears that you have a particular interest, as somebody from the Niger Delta, a major figure from the Niger Delta, to build a strong relationship with other blocs, other regional political power blocs, and perhaps even revisit some of the old relationships that existed between the Niger Delta and other parts of the country. Is that a true assessment of the situation?
Yeah, I agree with you. And of course, you are from the South, you know that we need it more than everybody else. In fact, I was very sad when I heard people from the South say there was no zoning in this country. Because suddenly you find yourself in office. Because, I mean, we need it more than everybody else. We are a minority, let's face it. We need the alliances more than anybody else. I mean, unfortunately, all the alliances that were developed by our fathers were just broken down in one swell swoop. Now we have a responsibility to build those alliances clearly, for us to belong in this country, for us to belong in the power circuit in this country. And I think that's what we're going to set out to do. We're going to first do the internal building. I mean, we're going to build everybody. We're going to try to build unity internally, and then try to focus on how we can build our alliances again and actually rebuild and refocus the Niger Delta, because we really need almost to be reinvented now.
Look at your personal attributes and experience and background. You understand the world, understand Nigeria as well as anyone. What do you bring personally to the table in Nigeria? That people will see Governor Silva. This looks like something that he might be a part of. What are some of the key things that you have in your mind that you would like to see happen, that you bring into the table?
Well, I've gained experience as governor.
Yes.
And I've also experienced the situation in the Niger Delta. I have experience in the oil sector. And these are the things the nation rests on.
Yes.
It rests on the oil sector, and of course on the Niger Delta, because the Niger Delta is where the oil is produced.
Yes.
And these are the kind of things I'm bringing to the national table, because I'm bringing experience in the Niger Delta issues. In Niger Delta issues, complete experience from beginning to end, because I participated in formulating the amnesty program and in making sure that the program is accepted by the federal government.
You certainly did, because I came and ate dinner in your house.
Exactly.
When we were doing the amnesty thing.
So I have experience there, and the issues are quite similar in the Niger Delta to the issues even in the Northeast today.
Yes.
And then plus, I mean, that adds up with the oil sector completely and the economy. So I bring a lot to the table nationally.
On that note, Your Excellency, I want to thank you so very much.
Thank you.
For being on our show.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
For a country, competitiveness refers to the way it optimizes the level of productivity compared to other countries, using its resources, institutions, policies, and other factors as may be necessary. As we all know, the level of productivity in turn sets the level of prosperity that can be reached by an economy. It therefore means that the productivity level is a key determinant of the economic growth rate. We now see why governance is extremely important for economic growth and national prosperity. Governing well implies that we are applying our policies in such a way that our resources and institutions are performing at an optimal rate of productivity. Good governance therefore implies competitiveness. The World Economic Competitiveness Report argues that competitiveness is one of the central determinants of a country's return on investments, a key factor that explains an economy's growth potential. To me, to say there is good governance implies there is efficiency and effectiveness in the application of our policies relative to our resources and institutions. For most people, poor governance means corruption, and they therefore keep wishing it away. You'll fail calamitously if all you do is to jail people or wish that corruption would simply go away. People often scheme up ways to avoid being caught. Therefore, corruption will not just go away, and very few people, therefore, will go to jail. As I've often stated it, corruption is always and everywhere related to the expected frequency of opportunity. If opportunity comes unpredictably and without merit, and the environment is uncertain, then corruption will surely persist. As an illustration, a highly skilled and passionate medical doctor is very unlikely to be corrupt compared to a quack. So efficiency in governance has to be assured if corruption is to be minimized. Thankfully, President-elect Buhari seems to be looking in this direction. In Africa, we must have policies and programs that strengthen competitive economic participation. These include commitments to education, public health services, skills development, community development, efficient resource management, and infrastructure development. People must know from early childhood that you may not be successful if you are not competitive enough. And for sure, you cannot be given a position of public trust if you are not promising and considered among the best to have such a position. I'm Magnus Kpakol, and that's my view.
Magnus.